This Social Security measure gives at least some protection to 30 million of our citizens who will reap direct benefits through unemployment compensation, through old age pensions, and through increased services for the protection of children and the prevention of ill health.
That, of course, is Franklin Delano Roosevelt having just signed the Social Security Act of 1935. And ever since, Social Security has been a hot-button political issue, as well as an essential financial resource for millions of Americans. In fact, it's still a hot-button issue for politicians. But the question becomes, is it still a resource that you can count on? And if so, do you know how to make the most of it? Yes, it's that time again. It's time to tune out the hype and focus on the facts. Facts that matter to you, the income generation. Let's get started. Get ready to separate reality from myth.
With us, David Scranton.
David Scranton.
David Scranton.
David Scranton.
But David Scranton says, hey, not so fast.
How does it affect the markets? How does it affect the economy? Thanks to efficiencies and new technology and a staff of veteran analysts and portfolio managers, Sound Income Strategies strives to set new standards and bring institutional style investing to your portfolio. Originally, Social Security was launched in response to the fiscal challenges created for many Americans as a result of the Industrial Revolution, along with other changes in society and the workforce in the early 1900s. As FDR put it, those changes made life more, quote, insecure for many people, especially when it came to making sure that they would still have enough income once they were no longer able to work. In the decades ever since, life has only gotten more insecure. But what about Social Security? Is it still retirement income that you can count on? And if so, do you know how to maximize the role it plays in your overall retirement strategy? We'll address those questions and many more on today's show, and some of the answers might actually surprise you. Joining us will be author, economics professor, and Social Security expert Laurence Kotlikoff, along with financial advisor Mark Falter. First, let's look at why Social Security is once more a hot political topic and what, if anything, that means for your benefits.
What's going on with the debt?
It's very disturbing, and it's driven by the three big entitlement programs that are very popular: Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid. That's 70% of what we spend every year. The subject we were just discussing, the funding of the government, is about 30% of what we spend. There's been a bipartisan reluctance to tackle entitlement changes because of the popularity of those programs. Hopefully, at some point here, we'll get serious about this. We haven't been yet.
With the federal deficit poised to hit $1 trillion by year's end, is Social Security in imminent jeopardy? It's a question some have been asking since Senator Mitch McConnell recently blamed the climbing deficit not on Republican tax cuts, but on both parties' ongoing reluctance to take on entitlement reform. In that context, many took his remarks to mean he's proposing cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Social Security, along with Medicaid and Medicare, have long been used as a political pawn by both parties. So the backlash from Democrats over McConnell's remarks was to be expected, particularly since President Trump campaigned on a promise not to cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Regardless of where you stand politically, the fact is simple. For many Americans, Social Security isn't just a nice thing to have. It actually is an essential part of their financial future and one of the biggest items on their balance sheet. And the truth is, Senator McConnell was right to point out that lawmakers have been lax for far too long in addressing the critical need for Social Security reform. Now, that has little to do with the federal deficit, though, and more to do with demographic changes that will inevitably begin draining the Social Security trust. That's estimated to start happening in less than 20 years if absolutely no changes are made to the system, and here's why. As many know, Social Security was designed as a pay-as-you-go system. Payroll taxes from current workers go into the trust fund and are immediately paid out to current retirees. Because baby boomers have been in their peak earning years, the trust fund has been able to accumulate more than it's needed for current benefits, and therefore been operating at a surplus. Currently, the trust fund holds about $2.6 trillion, which is invested in special issue Treasury securities. The problem, though, is that as more and more baby boomers start retiring, these trust fund assets will gradually be drawn down. As a result, more people will be collecting from the system than are paying into it. The exact opposite of the current situation. And as a result, in the coming years, costs in the Social Security system will begin to exceed income. The good news is that there are enough reserves currently in the system that will be able to pay 100% of promised benefits through the year 2034. The bad news is that after that, if nothing is done to reform the system, its income will only be sufficient to cover less than 80% of promised benefits. And the news probably only gets worse for recipients in the years after that. So although the system is not in imminent danger, most agree that the sooner politicians stop kicking the can down the road and start working on reforms, the more likely it will be that Social Security can continue to be a reliable financial resource for retirees in the years to come. Now, the question becomes, what are the odds that the current administration could actually enact cuts to the program that would move the endpoint for 100% payouts up even closer than 2034? Well, my best guess is that the odds are probably pretty slim. But let's face it, in this unprecedented age of economic, political uncertainty, who knows? The important reality for baby boomers right now is that your Social Security benefits are still secure. But the more important reality is this. Even at 100% payouts for most people, Social Security alone likely won't be enough to meet their retirement goals or even to allow them to retire at all comfortably. It's important to consider Social Security in the overall context of other retirement resources, including pensions, IRAs, and 401ks. In that context, Social Security can actually serve as the foundation of a sound retirement strategy. Why? Because it is, as the name implies, a secure source of income that you should be able to count on for the rest of your life. The trick, though, lies in allocating your other assets in a way that essentially makes them the same thing, while also maximizing the amount of income that you can get from Social Security. We'll talk about both those things and much more in just a bit. But right now, let's welcome our first guest, Laurence Kotlikoff. Laurence Kotlikoff is a William Fairfield Warren Distinguished Professor, as well as a Professor of Economics at Boston University. He's also President of Economic Security Planning, a company specializing in financial planning software, whose websites include esplanner.com and MaximizeMySocialSecurity.com. He's the author or co-author of as many as 16 books, including the bestseller, Get What's Yours, The Secret to Maxing Out Your Social Security. His work has appeared in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Forums, and other major publications. We're happy to have him back with us here on the Income Generation. Laurence, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
You know, you did a great interview with CNBC just last month where you talked about the importance of financial defense for everyday investors. But you know, a lot of people are really not paying attention to financial defense for whatever reason. Is there something you see in the economy or maybe what's going on politically that would cause you to bring up that so important topic at this particular time?
Well, our entire fiscal operation is totally broke. The country is really in probably the worst shape of any developed country in the world. If you look at the different programs, Social Security is 32% underfinanced. It's 34 trillion in the red. The official debt's 20 trillion. Social Security's 34 trillion in the red. Medicare, Medicaid, these programs don't have enough funding going forward. Defense spending, it's great to have a huge military, but you got to pay for it. So I want to pay taxes, the voters, and they're getting taxes, their taxes cut, leaving bigger bills to future generations. So all this is going to blow up in baby boomers' faces down the road.
I know in addition to Social Security, you said that banking, taxes, and education all have to be revamped in this country. But do you think it's feasible? I mean, do you think it can actually happen as long as politicians are politicians?
Well, I think that, you know, the Democrats in particular need a platform that is different from what they've been saying for years. So, yeah, we need radical banking reform that actually will not produce a repeat of 2008 and Social Security reform. that's progressive, that's going to secure the system. These can be democratic positions, tax reform that actually is fair but also generates more revenue, which we don't have in either dimension. So education, helping kids all around the country get the same education because it will be uniform and online and free, provided by the federal government, and one-on-one because the kid would have a headset watching a screen for a good part of the day. So you could have equality of education to a large extent that we don't have. That could transform the future of the country. So there are many purple plans here, and if you go to the purpleplans.org, you'll see a set of reform proposals that I put together. Yeah, we don't have the luxury of being so political that we can't bring up new ways, dramatically new ways to do things going forward, because the country's in such a deep hole, and each party is deepening that hole when it gets into power, just to try and stay in power. Well, this is not going to work out for the baby boomers or for our kids. It's just a disaster path, waiting to happen.
Yeah, I agree, and Social Security is just one part of that problem. We need to take a commercial break. When we come back, though, I want to ask you about a comment you made where you said you wouldn't hesitate to call up executives at all the major Wall Street firms and complain that they're actually bilking investors with misleading and erroneous information. Stay with us. We'll be right back to get the answer to that question.
David J. Scranton, Amazon bestselling author, money manager, and national TV host, is on a mission to educate baby boomers about the need to shift from growth to income. If you're at or near retirement, focusing on income over growth can make all the difference in the quality of your retirement. Each week, David educates America on his Newsmax TV show, The Income Generation, where he provides special reports and more to teach baby boomers about the income model.
Call now for a free copy of David's latest book. Go to soundincomestrategies.com/income to find out more.
Read David J. Scranton's groundbreaking new book, Return on Principle, 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Discover practical solutions to the financial challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. Learn the truth about Wall Street, the financial media, and the secrets they try to hide from everyday investors. This isn't just another book about investing. Working Americans who have lived through 2 major stock market crashes and the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression in the past 16 years don't need another book about investing. David Scranton's approach to financial planning is a holistic system designed for maximum protection, strategic growth, and reliable income regardless of market conditions. Stop planning for retirement with your fingers crossed. Read Return on Principle, 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Available now.
Visit the Retirement Income Store at soundincomestrategies.com today to receive your free digital income kit. The digital income kit includes free reports, whiteboard animations, and an educational DVD, all packed with easy-to-understand information on how actively managed income-based investment strategies can help you achieve your retirement goals. Go to soundincomestrategies.com right now and click on the Income Kit tab to request your digital income kit absolutely free.
Let's face it, Social Security has always been an important issue, but it may be more important today than ever before. In fact, according to a recent study by the National Institute on Retirement Security, an estimated 40 million households in America have absolutely no retirement savings at all. And for those who do have savings, the median account balance, according to the most recent figures from a Federal Reserve study, was $59,000. Now, compare that to the most recent estimates of average medical costs for a retired couple, about $200,000 over that couple's lifetime. And consider that medical and healthcare costs rise at a rate much faster than that of inflation, and essentially they double every 12 years or so. And it isn't just retirement accounts that are unhealthy. According to the Census Bureau, the median net worth, excluding home equity for an American in the age group of 55 to 64, is only $45,447. That picture looks a little better when you include home equity, of course. But not all Americans will be willing or able to tap into that equity to pay for retirement, especially after living through the collapse of the housing market as well as the financial crisis that ensued. Of course, for many Americans, it was the financial crisis that put them behind the 8 ball financially, and they're still struggling to catch up. Many saw their retirement accounts decimated by the 2007 to 2009 stock market plunge, and many lost their jobs at the same time. As these people continue to rebuild their retirement accounts, they know Social Security will be an important part of their financial future, and are probably grateful to have at least one source of retirement income that they can count on. But even if you have what you feel is a comfortable amount in savings, Social Security is still a more important strategic resource than you might realize. For one thing, many people who believe they have sufficient savings have never taken the time to calculate their retirement income needs with all of the relevant details factored in. And as a result, they're greatly underestimating those income needs and are overconfident oftentimes in their ability of their savings to actually meet those obligations. Though these people may not realize, it is just as important for them to strategically maximize their Social Security benefits as it is for someone with little savings, and to coordinate those benefits properly with other assets. Because just as some people overestimate the value of their IRAs, they can also underestimate the potential value of Social Security. For example, let's say your benefit starts out at $2,000 per month. If you live 10 more years, you'll receive more than $300,000 in lifetime benefits. 20 years, you'll receive $600,000, and if you live 30 more years and you factor in inflation and cost of living increases, you'll receive well over $1 million of benefits over the course of your lifetime. Now, we assume a 2.8% in that number cost of living adjustment. This is known as COLA, and is ostensibly meant to ensure that your benefits keep pace with inflation. But there are two important things about this COLA, if you will, to keep in mind. First, any annual increase in Social Security benefits is typically negated by the increased costs to Medicare Part B insurance. In other words, what the government often gives with one hand, they often take it away with the other. Secondarily, since COLA is based on the Labor Department's own reported inflation rate, the government obviously has a vested interest in underestimating that rate. In reality, the annual inflation rate is probably significantly higher than what the government reports. My point is this: while Social Security is a more valuable and important retirement resource than many people realize, it does have its limitations based upon economic realities. Now, yes, that's important to know. Why? Because underestimating the impacts of inflation is one of the most common mistakes retirees make with their money. And once you realize that Social Security is not going to keep up with inflation, you then understand how important it is to make sure that your other assets are allocated in such a way that can keep pace with inflation. Again, it's equally important to make sure they're allocated in alignment with your benefits and in a way that replicates Social Security's two most important features: protection and reliable income for life. Now, a good way to start is by meeting with a qualified financial advisor who specializes in income-generating financial strategies. The advisor can get you started by helping you figure out the first important decision you need to make about Social Security, and that is when to start taking benefits. We'll talk more about that in just a bit, but right now it's time to welcome back Laurence Kotlikoff. Tell me what you meant by that statement with CNBC recently, where you said that you would not have a problem calling up any of the major Wall Street executives of major financial firms and discussing with them how they are bilking investors with misleading and erroneous information. What do you mean by that?
Well, Wall Street has a kind of bait and switch methodology of doing financial planning. They asked you how much you'd like to spend in retirement. When you throw up your hands, they tell you, well, you need to spend 80% of your pre-retirement income, which is a target that's too high. And then they say, well, you're saving down here, you're trying to get here, you can't make it unless you buy our high yield mutual funds. And by the way, your probability of making your target is much higher if you invest with us that way. And that's true, it is a higher probability, but it's also a higher probability of losing your shirt because you're investing at risk, at significant risk. You're not being told really about that. And then you're also paying fees to boot. So that whole bait and switch is not what economics recommends or suggests. I'm a little bit conflicted here because I have a personal financial planning software company. We have a tool called Maxify.com, which does doesn't ask people to target for ridiculous amounts, but rather figures out, hey, here's your resources. You told us you got these resources. We're going to figure out a smooth path to your living standard, and then we're going to figure out how to maximize that, how to raise that safely by handling Social Security correctly, by handling your retirement accounts, timing those so you don't pay too much in taxes. So there are ways to actually provide good advice, but that's my concern, bad advice.
All right, so you heard it right here. Mr. Kotlikoff says Wall Street may be misleading investors. Laurence, I don't know. I think our viewers are going to have a tough time believing that one. That's a real stretch of the imagination. So, and one of the ways they really mislead investors, I believe, is when it talks about systematic withdrawals from mutual funds, not even, trying to take your income from dividends and interest. Literally, the fact you can leave your money in a 401k, you can take systematic withdrawals. I believe that's one of the biggest retirement cancers that exist. But before we have to take another commercial break, let's get to the Social Security topic. In the 60 seconds we have left in this segment, please tell our income generation members what you think is probably the highest probability option of how the government can fix Social Security to make it a long-term viable income benefit for our viewers.
Well, the problem is the politicians have been ducking Social Security's long finances. I mentioned it's $34 trillion in the red. That's enormous. Our gross domestic product's only $20 trillion. The rest of the financial enterprise is in even worse shape. So the rest of the system cannot bail out Social Security. So the best thing to do would be to freeze the current system in place, pay off through time everything that's owed to the current workers and keep paying the current retirees, but put in a new system where everybody contributes 10% into a fund. It's a common fund. Everybody gets the same return.
So essentially, Laurence, what you're referring to is just like when a company freezes a pension and replaces it with another. Laurence, stay with us. We need to take a commercial break. You stay with us too. We'll be right back on the Income Generation.
Read David J. Scranton's groundbreaking new book, Return on Principle: 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Discover practical solutions to the financial challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. Learn the truth about Wall Street, the financial media, and the secrets they try to hide from everyday investors. This isn't just another book about investing. Working Americans who have lived through 2 major stock market crashes and the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression in the past 16 years don't need another book about investing. David Scranton's approach to financial planning is a holistic system designed for maximum protection, strategic growth, and reliable income regardless of market conditions. Stop planning for retirement with your fingers crossed. Read Return on Principle: 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Available now.
David J. Scranton, Amazon bestselling author, money manager, and national TV host, is on a mission to educate baby boomers about the need to shift from growth to income. If you're at or near retirement, focusing on income over growth can make all the difference in the quality of your retirement. Each week, David educates America on his Newsmax TV show, The Income Generation, where he provides special reports and more to teach baby boomers about the income model.
Call now for a free copy of David's latest book. Go to soundincomestrategies.com/income to find out more.
Knowing how and when to apply for Social Security benefits is one of the most important financial decisions that you'll ever make. The difference oftentimes between the number 1 best method and the number 2 best method of collecting Social Security benefits could actually mean as much as $100,000 or more of additional benefits over the course of your lifetime. A good first step toward making the best decision is to calculate generally how much you can expect to receive. The amount is based on 2 primary factors. The first factor is your earnings. Social Security looks at your lifetime's annual earnings, indexes them for inflation, and picks the 35 highest years to include in the calculation formula. The total is then divided by 35 to come up with an average. If you don't have 35 years of earnings, the missing years are, yes, you guessed it, they're counted as 0 in the average, which of course has the effect of lowering benefits for people, oftentimes women, who've taken time off of work to raise children, although they may still be eligible for spousal benefits. The next factor used in determining your benefits is, as most people know, your age. You can start taking benefits anytime between age 62 and age 70. depending upon when you were born. The so-called retirement age, or normal retirement age as they like to call it, falls somewhere between 66 and 67. That normal retirement age is when you're eligible to receive what they call full benefits, also known as the primary insurance amount, or the PIA. If you take your benefits earlier, you'll get a reduction, potentially as high as 30% of what you would have gotten by waiting until normal retirement age. Conversely, for every year you delay taking Social Security benefits after full retirement age, you get an 8% annual increase in the benefits, maxing out at age 70. Based on those factors, you can do some calculating on your own and determine roughly how much you can expect to receive under different scenarios by using Retirement Estimator that's available on the Social Security website. It depends on a wide range of factors unique to your situation. Some of these factors include your health status, life expectancy, your income needs, whether you plan to continue working, your other financial assets, and more. The obvious advantage in delaying benefits is that your monthly check can be a lot bigger. For an example, a baby boomer born in 1950 who had a maximum earnings where they receive $1,850 per month if he started taking his benefits right away at age 62. But if that same baby boomer waited to age 70, he'd receive $3,355 a month, nearly double the amount. And that's without factoring in cost of living increases. Here's the point. While it might be tough to pass up Social Security checks when you could start receiving them at age 62, if you should happen to live a long time after you retire, you'll be glad you waited. And the bigger point is this. The question of when to apply for benefits is complex, and your odds of making the best decision for you, those odds increase greatly when you make it with the help of a qualified financial advisor. Most advisors today who specialize in income-based strategies are trained in the use of software that allows them to analyze all of the relevant data to determine how you specifically can squeeze the maximum amount that you're entitled to out of the Social Security benefits that you rightfully deserve. Starting, of course, with the most important decision is when to apply. And there are other important considerations and decisions that the right advisor can help you with as well. Decisions related to things like spousal benefits, divorced spouse benefits, survivorship benefits, which can be especially complicated, as well as taxation of those benefits. Again, the difference between the best and second best strategy used for taking Social Security could amount to more than $100,000 of additional cumulative benefits over the course of your lifetime. But what specifically are some of the things that you can do with the help of the right financial advisor to make sure that you're using the best strategy in maximizing your benefits? We'll talk a bit more about that in just a bit. Right now, it's time to welcome back Laurence Kotlikoff. Okay, Laurence, so I get it. Right before the commercial break, you said the best way to reform Social Security is probably to freeze the benefits, pay it off to existing recipients, and start a new program with new schedules of benefits, maybe new tax levels for new people. So let's say you're one of the existing recipients right now, and you need to choose how to maximize your Social Security. What are the two biggest mistakes that you see people making when it comes to making Social Security decisions?
Well, it's really complicated. You need to understand that the enormous payoff from being patient and waiting to take your benefits just until 70, which is the case for many people, not everybody. And there's some people right now who can file who are about 64 and 9 months to about 66 or 67 or so, 68, who can make up to about $67,000 for free by getting a free spousal benefit if they, run the software and see that that's the thing to do. So, it's very, very complicated. The best run sophisticated software that's focused on trying to help you, that doesn't have any conflicts of interest, is just giving advice, not trying to get you into buying some security at the end of the interaction. So my company certainly has that kind of software. We have a tool called MaximizeMySocialSecurity.com.
Okay.
So
one thing, so just so I understand, one thing is taking Social Security too early. I know you said in many cases waiting is a big thing. So let me ask you then, this benefit of being able, for those people that are within that 64 to 66 range, you're saying they could actually take spousal benefits early, if I'm understanding you correctly. And if so, tell us more about that.
Okay, so let's say I've got a 62-year-old wife and I'm 66, I could, because I've been grandfathered under the old law, My wife could take her benefit early at 62. I could collect a spousal benefit for 4 years. She could then, at 70, I'll get my highest retirement benefit. So I'm getting free spousal benefits, half of her retirement benefit. But then at 66, she can suspend her benefit, start it up again at 70 at a 30% higher number. So that would be a strategy for the two of us to maximize our lifetime benefits. And I'm,
that's a great strategy, Laurence, because people don't think about that. They think about, oh, I'm the highest breadwinner, I've got to take it first. My spouse takes the spousal benefit. But you're saying by flipping it, you get some extra benefit short term, and then you could flip it back. 30 seconds or less. What's one other gem that people need to know about Social Security and how to maximize it?
Well, for example, if you're taking your widow's benefit and you have your own retirement benefit, you have to decide which benefit to take first, or and which to take second. So if you took both at once, you would potentially lose one of the two benefits. But if you take, for example, so here again, it's tricky whether to take one or the other, which one to take first. But you can certainly make a lot more money by taking them in a staggered manner, and you have to figure out which one that requires software. There's no way around that. And then you got to ask, is the person selling you software, the company, do they have an ulterior motive? Is it Fidelity Investments? They're trying to sell you some mutual fund investment. At the same time, they're telling you about Social Security. Is it T. Rowe Price? All these companies are conflicted. ARP has a free tool that's worthless, gives you terrible advice, and
well,
they're trying to.
The old saying, you get what you pay for, right?
Well, and even when you do pay, you got to be careful giving you just advice, or whether they also are hooked up with some company they're trying to change the advice to help that company sell you something at the end of your interaction.
It always helps to be a little bit skeptical. I agree completely.
Laurence,
thank you very much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. We need to leave it there for now.
David J. Scranton, Amazon bestselling author, money manager, and national TV host, is on a mission to educate baby boomers about the need to shift from growth to income. If you're at or near retirement, focusing on income over growth can make all the difference in the quality of your retirement. Each week, David educates America on his Newsmax TV show, The Income Generation, where he provides special reports and more to teach baby boomers about the income model.
Call now for a free copy of David's latest book. Go to soundincomestrategies.com/income to find out more.
Read David J. Scranton's groundbreaking new book, Return on Principle: 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Discover practical solutions to the financial challenges facing today's generation of retirees and near retirees. Learn the truth about Wall Street, the financial media, and the secrets they try to hide from everyday investors. This isn't just another book about investing. Working Americans who have lived through 2 major stock market crashes and the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression in the past 16 years don't need another book about investing. David Scranton's approach to financial planning is a holistic system designed for maximum protection, strategic growth, and reliable income regardless of market conditions. Stop planning for retirement with your fingers crossed. Read Return on Principle: 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. Available now.
The sooner you start working with the right advisor, the better your odds are of fully maximizing Social Security and making it a valuable part of your overall retirement strategy. As I mentioned before, advisors who specialize in income-based strategies typically have access to software that's designed for that very purpose. Specifically, the right advisor can help make sure you get the most out of Social Security in many ways, including the following: improving your earnings record. There may be inaccuracies in the earnings record section of your online Social Security statement, such as missing years, for example. If so, your advisor can show you how to correct them and also help you determine if you can improve your earnings record by working longer. As we discussed in the last segment, your advisor can help you answer that critical question: when should I apply for benefits? And the right answer depends on a wide range of factors and is more complicated than most people realize. But again, the right decision could mean the difference in tens of thousands of dollars extra benefits over the course of your lifetime. Equally complicated and important is coordinating spousal benefits. The goal, of course, is to maximize income for both of you while you're both still living, and to maximize income for the survivor after one of you dies. The right advisor can help make sure you achieve that goal. Next, your advisor can help you make sure you minimize taxation on your benefits. Now, this is a big one. There are several strategies for minimizing Social Security taxes, but many require a professional's knowledge of tax law and finance. These strategies can include reducing your income with other tax-advantaged investments, properly coordinating payments on your required minimum distributions, converting a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, delaying Social Security for tax purposes, reducing your expenses, paying down your debt, and continuing to proactively manage your taxes through retirement. Finally, and most importantly, an advisor who specializes in retirement income can help make sure you properly and effectively coordinate Social Security with your overall retirement plan. An advisor can help you achieve organic strategic portfolio growth while replicating in other investments the two most important features provided by Social Security, and that's security itself, and the other being reliable, lifelong income to meet your retirement goals. Making sure your IRAs, pensions, and other income sources are allocated correctly and aligned properly with your benefits can be the single most important factor of maximizing Social Security. Now, speaking of advisors that specialize in helping people maximize retirement income, let's go to our next guest, Mark Falter. Mark is the owner of Mid-American Wealth Advisory Group in Kansas City, Missouri, has specialized in working with retirees for 20 of his 30 years as a financial advisor. He shares his savings and investment expertise on his weekly radio show, The Retirement Income Doctor, and is an occasional guest on national media outlets like Fox Business and so on. Mark, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave, for having me.
And we're talking today, of course, about a topic that's near and dear to your heart and the hearts of many of your loyal clients, and that is Social Security. What do you make of Mitch McConnell's recent comments about the need to address and reform Social Security so that it can be a viable option for tomorrow's retirees, not just today's?
Well, I'll tell you, I honestly was thinking about Mitch McConnell's statements. He wasn't out to make a lot of friends that day that he did that statement. And I just did a Social Security workshop the other night, and one of the people in the audience before the workshop said, I don't consider it an entitlement. And he put a little profanity right before the word entitlement. Mm-hmm. Many people, it's basically a payback of our investment that we put in. The problem with it is if they don't reform it, we are looking at some massive changes in 2034. And so there's things on the horizon right now that are addressing that. They eliminated the file and suspend, but that's gone. And they're even talking about... By the way,
for viewers that don't know, the file and suspend was a fancy way of maximizing benefits where one spouse could file, not take his benefits, and the spouse can get spousal benefits off that person. And then the actual applicant could apply later at age 70 and get maximum benefits. It's good they did away with that, right, Mark? Because that's one of the things that could help make Social Security viable long-term.
Long-term, correct. And they're talking about even potentially doing away with spousal benefits altogether. And that's the thing that I tell a lot of our clients. It's why you want to have an analysis done to see what is the best strategy for you to see if spousal benefits even play into the role.
So what do you see as like the number one biggest mistake that the people who walk through your doors are making with their decision about Social Security benefits?
They typically, if I ever had to say one thing, many people are so fearful that Social Security is going to go bankrupt. They've heard for so many years that, the government's dipping their hands in it. They're taking all the money out, that they want to go out and collect early and get while the getting is good. Well, there's several issues with that. Number one, you got to make sure that your income's not too high. And number two, I think you're kind of right now running from a ghost. There's still a surplus in the OASDI trust fund, the trust fund that establishes the Social Security checks.
Yeah, so I have the fear that it's going to go away. They basically just take it early, saying if I get signed on now, they won't stop it. Mark, stay with us for another block, please. We really love having you here. And you stay with us, too. We have a lot more from Mark Falter here on The Income Generation. We'll be right back. And we're back with more from Mark Falter here on The Income Generation, a good friend of The Income Generation as well as one of my closest friends in the entire world, who Social Security just became a more important topic for you as you got 1 year older this past week, correct?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for reminding me of that.
So the reality is that it's an interesting twist you put on this. I know people take Social Security early, but I never realized that a lot of people are taking it early because they're afraid it's going to go away. So what do you tell those people?
I tell them not to run from a ghost that's not coming, because there's no, let's put it this way. There is no president that wants to see Social Security go down on their watch. And also, it's tied at the hip with disability payments. And imagine the world without disability payments. So the point is, get the best analysis run the right strategy, and look at maybe waiting, definitely at least until retirement age.
Now here's one thing that's really interesting. I have to ask you, you know, people understand they love Social Security because it gives guaranteed income, they don't have to worry about it and so on. But yet, is it my imagination, or do people have a tough time making that same paradigm shift with their investments as they approach retirement, from a growth mindset to an income mindset? Or is it just on the East Coast we have that problem?
No, it's universal, I think, Dave. I think that what happens is people get what I like to refer to as 401k brain. They get so used to doing one thing, and unfortunately, the financial services industry teaches them to stay with that buy and hold strategy. The problem with that is when you start taking money out, you don't want to be selling shares, and it's impossible to do in a buy and hold strategy to not sell shares. You want to be creating income and dividends.
So how do you get people to make this paradigm shift? You know, they love their Social Security, but yet they also love their stock mutual funds, even though they took a shellacking in 2008, 2009, they still love it. What's the best words of wisdom for our Income Generation members, our loyal viewers, about how to mentally make that paradigm shift as they approach retirement?
You know, I ask them, I really drill down and I ask them, why do you want to make that account bigger? And they say more security. And then I ask them, once I drill down, they finally get the point. I want to take income out of it. I need this thing to support me for the rest of my life. And the problem with that is we don't know what the market's going to do. And without knowing that, I don't know how long that account's going to last if you're in the market. Or if you're getting interest in dividends and only keeping your income within that range, it can last indefinitely.
And you viewers at home, think about this while I ask Mark. Mark, is your number one goal of most of your clients to leave a huge legacy for their family, yes or no?
Honestly, most of our clients, no.
Okay. Is it to go out and buy a yacht or a Rolls Royce, yes or no?
Oh, no, not at all, no.
It's for what? It's to generate more what?
Income. More income.
More income, that's right. Mark, I'm sorry we're out of time. It's been great having you once again. And you stay with us too. We'll be right back here on The Income Generation. Stay with us. I'd like to thank both of our guests for joining us for another episode of The Income Generation. Of course, most importantly, I'd like to thank you, our new and returning viewers. You know, when discussing Social Security with clients or in educational workshops, as Mark Falter mentioned a moment ago, we sometimes bring up this Stanford marshmallow experiment. This is a series of psychological studies that were conducted in the early 1970s that focused on delayed gratification. In this study, children were offered a choice between receiving a small reward right away or 2 small rewards if they waited about 15 minutes. Now, the reward was usually a cookie, a piece of candy, or of course a marshmallow. The analogy to Social Security is pretty obvious. Why? Because if you take your benefits right away at age 62, you basically get a smaller reward than you would have had you waited. And the longer that you can wait, the bigger your reward. The initial findings of the Stanford experiment were that delayed gratification produced benefits well beyond the extra marshmallows that the kids received. Those who waited tended to have better life outcomes than those who didn't. They had higher SAT scores, better jobs, better health, and so on and so forth. But researchers who repeated the study in later years found that it wasn't that simple. They went deeper into it and determined that the decision whether or not to delay gratification wasn't purely psychological. It actually had a lot to do with the child's environment and individual life circumstances. It was much more complex than the first study even recognized. By the same token, maximizing Social Security isn't simply a matter of delaying gratification, of putting off the receiving of your benefits until you're at the age when you can get the maximum amount. For some people, that might be possible, and it might actually be the best strategy. But for others, it may not even be possible. And even if it were, it still may not be the best strategy. There are a lot of factors to analyze and consider when it comes to truly maximizing your Social Security benefits, again, in conjunction with your overall retirement plan. And yes, I believe your chances of achieving that goal are greatly improved by working with an advisor who specializes in financial strategies geared toward portfolio protection and reliable retirement income. Thanks for watching. If you're close to retirement and you really want to know how to protect and maximize your money, yes, it's absolutely essential that you stay informed and up to date. And right here is where you can do it, here on The Income Generation. I'm David Scranton. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. If you're near or in retirement, head over to theincomegeneration.com and download your special report written specifically for the needs of the income generation, again, those born before 1966. I'm David Scranton, and you've been watching The Income Generation.